Just allow it a few moments for our guests to join us here. It'll be fun as they funnel in. Perfect. Wow, that's building up fast. Cool.
I recognize some of the names in the list too. This is exciting.
Fun night.
These folks have attended sessions with us previously. It's good to see them.
We've got two of the most positive presenters we have here, so this should be a fun experience. Not to toot our own horns. All right. By gosh, by golly, I guess we can get started. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'll introduce my colleague in just a second, or I'll let them introduce themselves. But my name's Jake Dietrich. I work in the Office of Admissions here at Syracuse University in the central office. So we work with all of the individual schools and colleges that we have at Syracuse University. Tonight, I'm going to talk a little bit about our community as a whole, and I'll be kind of helping Jill as we go throughout this event to just answer questions. And so if you have something on your mind that you want to talk about that you don't see addressed during the session, please feel free to type it into our Q&A box, and I'll be sure to answer that behind the scenes for you. But without further ado, let me let my colleague take the reins here for a second.
Thank you so much, Jake. Hello, everyone, and howdy. As Jake did mention, my name is Jill Stromberg. My formal title is I'm an undergraduate recruitment specialist within the College of Visual and Performing Arts at Syracuse University. So yes, that is a mouthful, but it's just another way of saying it's my job to be a chatty Cathy about our programs. On the more serious side, I do provide both advisory as well as final portfolio reviews for our visual arts students, and I also help coordinate and organize our audition days for our performing arts students. I'm also an alum of Syracuse. I did graduate from our illustration program back in 2012. So I have firsthand knowledge and experience about our experience that our visual arts students do have. For those who are curious, I do just want to mention the elephant or cat in the room. I am joined by my colleague, Norton Stromberg, who will be a silent witness to our presentation today.
I wish you told me about that elephant or cat joke in advance. Giggles the rest of the night.
Yeah, it's all good.
But I really, we'll address a little bit about the admissions process towards the end of this as well. But I hope that we're giving you a good sense of how the performance arts and visual arts and film and design kind of admission cycle works a little bit, and that we very much believe that students should be able to do both to have that talent aspect of their application. And then we have the central office where I work that evaluates academic rigor and transcripts and more. And so those two things working in tandem really make somebody an effective applicant to Syracuse University in these programs. And we'll be sure to hit a little bit on that later as well. Or if you have a question about it, we're happy to answer it more specifically. You can always email us or give our office a call during the week as well. But just to give you some context about Syracuse University, VPA, the College of Visual and Performing Arts, is one of 10 undergraduate schools that we have here. And so all things said and done, there are about 15,000 undergraduate Syracuse students. There's 200 majors, 100 minors. So at the end of the day, there's a lot of different reasons that somebody might want to apply to Syracuse and enroll here, which means we build up a really academically diverse, and diverse in every sense of the word, type of community where we have students from all 50 different states, all around the world, different interests, different types of backgrounds and experiences, which help makes our community richer. And I think something to keep in mind too is that we offer a lot of academic flexibility, and we offer a lot of individualized resources that help students create a more personal college experience. And so I mentioned that we have 15,000 undergraduate students, but as you can imagine, there's, Jill, maybe help me, about 1,800 students in visual and performing arts?
Yeah, that's correct. About 1,800 to about 2,000 students. I think a very common number that's thrown around at Syracuse is that the average class size is about 1 faculty to 15 students, that classroom ratio. However, in my personal experience, what's important to note is that as you get to your junior and senior year, you start hyper-focusing on your specific professional area so much, especially at VPA. Your class sizes actually get much smaller than 1 to 15. Typically, it's 7 to 8 students per faculty in your junior and senior year. And if you're working on a senior thesis, it may just be when the faculty working together, which is some really great mentorship as well as professional development that comes from that.
Yeah, and that 15 to 1 faculty-student ratio is really important. I think the average class size overall, leaving VPA aside for the moment, is 26. And so, you know, you have 15,000 undergraduate students, but I think, as Jill was kind of explaining there, you do end up with this really personalized small school feel in a lot of ways, where you're going to have the resources of a large community, but on a day-to-day basis, you're going to have the ability to establish relationships and connections with professionals, with your professors, other students and peers that help you navigate the college environment and find your fit or find programs and classes and things that really are a great experience for you. And so keeping that in mind, we also want to make sure that students have access to all the different things going on here, whether that's a basketball game or adding a minor on. And so students, just because you're in one particular school and college doesn't mean that's the only thing you're ever doing here. In fact, students take a liberal arts core curriculum while they're enrolled here. And so you'll have math, science, history, English, lots of different things to build up skill sets in different areas. You also have the opportunity to minor outside of your home school or college. And so you could be a visual and performing arts student. And I'll pick on Jill again. Do you happen to know, say, a pretty common minor that students in VPA might look to add on, or something that really stands out, resonates with a lot of students?
Oh, absolutely. So a very common minor for especially our design students is something called the Triple E minor, which is the Entrepreneurship and Emerging Enterprises minor. You can imagine for a lot of freelance illustrators, artists who are doing exhibition work, filmmakers, animators, photographers, they want to operate and run their own business. They want to be their own boss. So within the Whitman School of Management, they offer this minor called the Triple E minor, where we give you the skill sets and the tool belt to be your own business owner. I think what also pairs really nicely with that Triple E minor is we have something called the Blackstone Launchpad. It's like right when you walk in the library, there's this huge glass box. You walk and you say like, hey, I want to start a business. And they're like, great. And they still start from the ground up and helping you build that business. So personally, there's a whole pie chart slide in here, and as boring as a pie chart sounds, it's actually one of my favorite parts, especially as someone who looks back to my time at looking at colleges and universities. And I'll talk about some more of that academic integration within our professional degrees when we get there.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks. I'll wrap up and let the main show get underway. But I do want to note that I think as you're looking at Syracuse, something important to keep in mind is with that 200 majors and 100 minors, there's a lot of different ways your academic experience could take shape, and you're going to be able to establish relationships with the advisors and professors who are going to help you navigate that effectively and in a way that you feel is a really great fit or that you feel passionate about. And so on the other side of that, we also have different career service centers for each of our schools and colleges, so that we're not pushing you into this one size fits all type of situation, but that we're saying, if you do want to go work in interior design, it takes a very specific set of skills and a particular experience to be able to make somebody competitive in that field. And so having a team in VPA that works with those students directly is a lot more beneficial than having a big old office that everyone has to go to, whether they want to work in art or whether they want to work in architecture or journalism or business or any other field.
Absolutely.
So more to it than that, but I wanted to give you a quick overview so that you had a little bit of a sense of who we are and what the Orange community looks like as a whole. Now I'll turn off my video and sound, but I'll be here answering your questions in the background. And in the meantime, I'll let Jill take center stage.
Jake, thank you so much. And one thing I do want to just hyper encourage folks, I already see one question in our open question area. Get nerdy with us. Ask us your curiosities and ask us your questions. The question that I see there by Michelle talking about graphic communication and design majors, I'm going to be really happy to answer that during our design slide today. So know that even if you have a question that you're like, oh, maybe that's not an important question, there may be another student who's thinking that same question. So go ahead and ask us those questions. We'd love to see them. Jake, if you can go to the next slide, awesome. So one big thing about the College of Visual and Performing Arts that is important to note, we have 6 different departments and schools within the College of Visual and Performing Arts. We do have, of course, the School of Art. We do have a School of Design. We have the Department of Transmedia. We also have our Department of Drama, the Setner School of Music, and we also have the Department of Communication and Rhetorical Studies. Of course, today we will be focusing on the School of Art, the School of Design, and the Department of Transmedia. However, I know for me, the reason I came to Syracuse is because, of course, I'm an illustrator by trade, but I also play the tuba. So I imagine there may be some visual artists in the room who are also performance artists in their own right, and we're happy to answer those questions for you today as well. So it may not seem super long ago, but all the way back in 2007, I was exactly where you guys were. I was a creative student looking for an art and design school. Syracuse was the perfect fit for me. But one thing I do remember when looking at different art and design schools is I kept seeing these different degree names. I saw these BFAs, these Bachelor of Science, these Bachelor of Arts degrees. And I was like, okay, so I know that these are different degree types, but what does that mean? So we have this slide here to kind of really break down like, hey, these are the degrees that you may be wanting to pursue. And this is what that means for your experience on campus. So the College of Visual and Performing Arts at Syracuse University, we are a professional college. And essentially what us being a professional college means is the majority of degrees we do confer are professional degrees. And those are Bachelors of Fine Art, Bachelors of Music, and Bachelors of Industrial Design. So us being a professional college means you get the same degree types and quality of education that you would get at a standalone art school, but you get the added benefit of being within a university system, over 500 active clubs and organizations. You get to take those minors in different colleges. I think a big thing that our faculty say all the time is that when you're making art or you're making design or making films, it isn't just for other filmmakers or artists or designers. You're making it for a global community. So having access to that global community is really beneficial for our creative students. You'll see with the professional degrees, you're spending most, if not all of your time, you'll see like 75% of that chunk in that pie chart, focusing on the professional area that you love. As an illustration student, I spent most of my time in studio, drawing, doodling, making artwork. For our filmmakers, you're holding a camera in your first semester, you're making those films. For our design students, you are starting on design projects right away. And that's the most of your experience on campus throughout those 4 to 5 years. You are spending it, doing the work that you love. There is that traditional academic slice. However, my favorite part about these professional degrees is the academic slice. They're not the core of your education, and they're really flexible. When we're looking at most of our professional degree programs, I say most, if you don't want to take science and math ever again, you don't have to. For most of our degree programs, there's only 2 really solid core requirements, and those are our writing courses. Of course, in any kind of profession, writing is a fundamental and important skill. And when I say that there are some degree programs that, for example, our art education students, because they have to get certified to be teachers in New York State, there are some core education requirements that are required for our art ed students or our music ed students. We also have a program in the Center School of Music, sound recording technology, that includes engineering. So of course, with those, you may have to do those fundamental traditional liberal arts classes. But for example, our studio arts, Bachelor of Fine Arts, those 2 writing courses, and the rest is your oyster. As an illustration student, how I chose to fill my academic slice, I learned Japanese, I learned how to swing dance, I played tuba in the marching band. I took classes in the management school to learn about how to fundraise for social issues that I really care about. So I really got to choose what I wanted to do with that academic slice. And most of our students actually choose to pursue a minor with that academic slice. As Jake mentioned, there's over 100 minors on campus that you can add to your professional degree experience. A very common question is, with a professional degree, can I double major? I don't know if this is a dated, allegory, but of course, like the Justin Bieber movie, Never Say Never. We never like to say never on our campus. I think while we never say never for pursuing a double major with a professional degree, it is difficult. We have an office here in BPA called the Office of Student Success. You can imagine with the name like that. It's their job to make sure you're successful as a student on campus. They do that through 2 ways. One is with our academic advisors, and these are folks who help build out your double majors, help you pursue a minor, crunch the numbers to your study abroad. So you can walk into that office as soon as your first week on campus and say, hey, I want to study abroad in France. I want to have a 2-week experience in Los Angeles, and I also want a minor in Russian classics. Okay, cool. Okay, this is what that looks like, right? So they're the ones who are really crunching the numbers to your dreams. So if you are someone who's like, hey, I do want a BFA in illustration, and I also want a double major in forensic science, work with your academic advisor and see what's possible. A lot of times doing that double major with a professional degree includes something like taking summer sessions, taking winter sessions, and taking something called a Maymester session. And also coming in with existing community college credits. With all that being said about those professional degrees, we do offer Bachelor of Science degrees as well as Bachelor of Arts degrees because our students do really cool things with them. I think 2 really big examples of a BS and a BA that we offer. We do offer a Bachelor of Science in Design Studies, and we offer a Bachelor of Science in Studio Arts. What this BS allows for our students to do is double major. So know that, we had a student a while back who really loved design, but they also really loved engineering. So they did pursue a double major in design and engineering. This was a while back, but they were the first person to make the first functional artificial heart. We're happy to call them alum of Syracuse University. So we offer these because we want our students to take full advantage of the research one institution that we are, if they do want to take advantage of that. So you'll notice as we go through some of the slides, we do offer some Bachelor of Science and Bachelor of Arts degrees in some very specific degree areas. Awesome. All right, Jake, next slide if you'd like. All right, so our School of Art. What's great about Syracuse University and our School of Art is that we were actually the first institution in the United States to confer a Bachelor of Art in Painting all the way in 1875. So we started the whole art school game. We've grown a lot since then. I think one big thing is that you may notice we actually don't offer a Bachelor of Arts in Painting anymore. Instead, we do offer something called a Bachelor of Fine Arts or Bachelor of Science in Studio Arts. What's important to note about our School of Art is that we do have a first year foundation experience where all of our students within the School of Art get a comprehensive experience in that first year, where they get exposure to all the different kinds of techniques and mediums and practices that our School of Art does practice. And they learn how to utilize those tools so they can bring it into their own unique creative practice. Our School of Art is an inherently interdisciplinary program. So all of our students in arts education, illustration, and studio arts have the same first year experience. They get to meet all the different faculty within our School of Art. And once they do go through that first year, they do start treading on their own journey, depending on what their degree program is. There are two main buildings for our students in the School of Art. We do have our Comstock Art Facility, where if you can think of a big piece of equipment that you need for art, it's probably there at Comstock. They pour molten metal lava. We have a huge printmaking facility. We have one of the nation's leading ceramic facilities. We actually host international ceramicists in our ceramic facility. We hand make our own, what's it called? We hand make our own porcelain and white clay and earthen clay. We hand make it there in the building. We have a comprehensive collection of kilns, both raku kilns and electrical kilns, and it's exciting. There's a wood shop, a metal shop, a wax melting shop. A big factor for me and why I, as a fine artist, chose Syracuse University is that all of our School of Art students, as they emerge into their second year, get their own studio space, and they have 24-hour access to that studio space. You can imagine for folks who may go to a college and a university that does not offer them their own studio space, they're walking to and from campus with like 20-foot, canvases and their illustrations that they're like, oh no, if this gets wet with like one drop of water, it's over. It's not the case because our students have their own studios that they have 24-hour access to, and it's their space. I think there's something about having your own space that I think is so like gutturally important as a fine artist. And then you share that space with colleagues. So you get to really have this kind of constructive critique throughout your entire four-year experience. Of course, our arts education students are actually dually enrolled in both the College of Visual and Performing Arts as well as the School of Education. You do get New York State certification through this program. And we give you skill sets on how to be a good artist, a good teacher, and a good art teacher. We actually offer over the weekend arts courses for youth P through 12 through the P through 12 system. So you actually get exposure to students on campus and also through educational placements through your time in this. Our illustration program, you really get to choose your own adventure in that program after that first year. Do you want to do concept art for major films and animation and video games? We have faculty who do that. Do you want to do editorial or children's book illustration? We have folks who do that. Do you want to do graphic novels or comic books? We have faculty who are being published in that. We also have a very specific business illustration track too, where if you have ever seen a Microsoft PowerPoint with stock photos, there's a way to really get into the illustration industry with that as well. We have faculty who are current practitioners in those fields who are roaring and ready to help you. Of course, we have our studio arts practice too, which is really there to really celebrate the unique artist that you are. So within our studio arts program, you get to approach art in the way that you'd like to, get to approach specific mediums, and we really prepare you for the art world, doing exhibition-based work. Of course, if you want to pursue a master's or a PhD to be an art teacher in your own right in higher education spaces, if you want to be a performance artist, if you wanted to do your own curations. So you name it, our studio arts practice really prepares you for your interdisciplinary approach to art in the way that you want to. I think a really great example of why we don't have like painting or printmaking degrees is because you are your own unique artist and you get to approach art in the way you want to. We have a quote unquote ceramic student who in their senior thesis actually did dance as a part of their exhibition. So of course, being studio art allows you just to have unbridled artistic expression. Awesome, we can keep going, Jake. All right, our School of Design. One particular thing that I love explicitly about our School of Design is that when you look at other art and design institutions, you may notice that art and design students have the same first year experience. Of course, most colleges call it a foundation year. One thing that I specifically like about Syracuse University is that our art students have a very unique first year experience and our design students have a very unique first year experience. So our art students are starting on art right away, and our design students are starting on design immediately when they come to campus. So in your first semester, you are doing specifically drawing for design, you're doing fabrication for design, and you're doing critical problem solving skills with design practices. I know sometimes there can be some design students who are a little frustrated because they're like, I'm doing this art stuff that doesn't necessarily translate into my practice in design. And our faculty are very adamant being like, no, when you're coming to campus, you are starting on design from the moment you step foot on campus. Our School of Design is nationally renowned for really being leaders in using design to solve critical problems with people, community, and sustainability in mind. We've received a huge diversity of grants to really have our School of Design being a front leader when it comes to sustainable design. I think if you ever get a chance to walk into our warehouse, you'll notice on each floor of the Nancy Cantor warehouse, which houses our School of Design, there are sustainability practices at every wall you turn to. Very similar to our School of Art, we do have a first-year experience where across all of our different degree programs, you're having that same first-year experience. So of course, on the Common App, you choose a first choice major and a second choice major. So you're coming into campus with a very specific major. But having this first-year experience that translates across all these different design practices, it really allows you to be like, okay, so you want to go into this design, and let's really affirm that through that first-year experience as you get exposed to the different tools and techniques and philosophies and practices of these different design areas. Going into these specific design areas, this kind of goes to your question, Michelle. Graphic art, graphic design and communications design. You may notice that we have a school on campus called the Newhouse School of Public Communications that also offers a Bachelor of Science in Graphic Design. Of course, there is the inherent difference that that's a Bachelor of Science and ours is a BFA. What our faculty say about our communications design program is that it's a triple threat. So graphic design is purely talking about the fact that you are doing a specific digital art. So graphic design is just digital art. Our communications design program really tackles design from 3 different approaches. Of course, we teach you graphic design in that program. Not only do we teach you graphic design, we teach you the psychology of communications through design. So how do you communicate something to a group of people, and how are we thinking about the psychology behind that? So it's the art, it's the psychology, and we also teach you the business aspect of it as well. Copywriting, what it means to work with design by committee, what it means to operate and own your own business. So while there is the triple E minor, we do give you the business of design for our school as well. So really our communications design talks about all the things that are considered when we do talk about graphic design in the contemporary age. As I did mention on the pie chart slide, we do have a graphic design degree called Design Studies, which is a Bachelor of Science degree. The super cool thing about our BS in Design Studies is that it is the one degree program that does not require a portfolio. So if you love design, you're like, I love design, I want to incorporate design into my practice as a professional, but you look at your portfolio and you look at your, like, I can't make design just yet. I'm going to college so I can learn design. Our Design Studies program is there for you if you have a passion for design, but you're very anxious about your portfolio. So know that Design Studies is there for you, and we're excited for you to be interested and passionate about design. And our faculty are like, you're coming to campus to learn about design. Why deny people that opportunity? So it was actually just last year that we began this degree program, our BS. We're really happy to have it. Our Environmental and Interior Design program is all about tackling how humans are interacting with space and how space serves a function to people and communities and families. So really when it comes to environmental interior design, it's designing spaces, but talking about the different scales of spaces. So our students in this program design things as small as inside city buses, to whole city blocks, to whole cities. So know that, they used to be 2 different degree programs, an environmental design program and an interior design program, but they've really come together, and our students get skill sets on how to do external spaces, internal spaces, moving spaces, you name it, you learn it within that program. We do have an architecture school on campus. And I think what's important to note is when we see students graduating from our environmental and interior design program and our architecture program, they're working in the same spaces. They're just doing different things in those spaces. So we do have a diversity of some of our students who are interested in both our EDI program as well as our architecture program. What I encourage those students to do is go online, go to that course catalog, look at those class names, and see what excites you. Like, how would you envision your experience on campus to look like if you took those specific classes? Our fashion design program, I think one thing that I like about fashion design is while most of our design programs have the same first year experience, our fashion students do have an addition to that. You are learning sewing and stitching in that first semester as well. I think one really big and great highlight about our fashion design program is that they actually have the penthouse suite in the Nancy Cantor warehouse. You got the top floor, you got the best view. We also have something on that floor called the Guinea collection, where it is a funded archive and collection of garments that go all the way back to the 18th century. And you as a student get immediate access to the Guinea collection. And it's a funded collection, so every year they have a specific fund to add to that garment collection. So you get to put on the white gloves, you get to go into the Guinea collection and look at some really great fashion pieces that inform our students' work and inform the world's work when it comes to fashion and garments. We have a faculty whose sole research is learning about the sewing and stitching of major luxury brands. So he is developing a text where people may ask, how does Versace sew a pocket? And he's doing the archiving necessary to be like, okay, so this is how Versace sews a pocket. How are you going to put that into your own practice, right? So it's really cool that we do have this archive. I asked Zeke Leonard, who is the first year coordinator of our School of Design, what's his favorite piece in the Guinée collection. He shared with me that his favorite piece is actually two pieces. There are two pieces from the 1940s. One is a wedding dress of a woman in the 1940s. And the accompanying piece is actually a hand-painted World War II bomber jacket. And it's like a bomber jacket that flew on a plane in World War II. And it's actually a pair. They came as a pair because it was a husband and wife who submitted those to the collection. So it's a really great piece of work that we get to see, and you get to hold hands first in our Guinée collection. Another great thing about our fashion design program is that we are the only curriculum in the nation that requires our students to make plus size items as a part of their lines. Our fashion faculty are very adamant that within the fashion industry, there's more than $2 billion that are left on the table because the fashion industry is not body inclusive and not body positive. So really, we work with an alum named M, who is a plus size supermodel, who helps fund and facilitate this program called Fashion Without Limits. She actually chooses 2 items that a student has made through Fashion Without Limits, and she gets to put them in production in, chain stores and Macy's and JCPenney's. So know that our students are already getting their fashions in stores when they're in our program. It's really cool and exciting to see. I saw that Eva asked if there are graphic design internships available. I love that you asked this question because it actually translates to all the VPA students in the room today. I mentioned the Office of Student Success and the academic advisors within the Office of Student Success. What I didn't mention also in the Office of Student Success is that I feel like I'm saying Office of Student Success like 80 times, but in that office, we have full-time career counselors who are nerdy and niche about the visual and performing arts. As a fine artist myself, as a student, I was always nervous to walk into a career development room and say like, hey, I'm an illustration student. Is there an internship available for me? I was afraid that a career counselor was going to be like, oh, woof, you're an artist? Sorry, can't help you. That's not the case here at Syracuse and not the case at the College of Visual and Performing Arts. These are people who are nerdy and niche about the visual arts. They connect with our alumni in the industry, and they work with our students all 4 years to get them folded into the industry. And it's actually even a two-way approach. So of course, you can come to their office and they'll sit down with you. They'll help beef up your resume. They'll connect you with internships all across the US and internationally. And they'll will send folks to your classrooms and to your faculty. So they'll get folks to meet with you. You get to meet with them. While I will say most of our students do take advantage of internships in their junior year, we do, for a diversity of our degree programs, offer study abroads that actually come with internships. We have a film program in Los Angeles where if you do the semester in Los Angeles, you are actually required to have an internship in the industry. You can imagine if it's required, you are going to get a lot of academic support to make sure you do get that internship. And of course, we have alum all across multiple and diversity of fields. So we actually have over 24,000 active VPA alum and grads who are seeking SU students because they know what they're getting when they're hiring you. I think one example, especially for our design students that I'd like to bring up is that I'm actually wearing an Apple Watch right now. One of our alums from our School of Design, his name is Alan Dye, and he's actually the vice president of user interface at Apple. So he's the one who's in charge of, if you have an iPhone, if you have an Apple Watch, he's responsible for how you're moving that item. And he loves SU students. He's like working with our career counselors, being like, connect me with SU students. I'm hungry for them. And he was actually on a Zoom call with us recently, connecting with our students. It was really great to see that. And that's true across all of our different degree programs. As an illustration student, we went down to New York City every year to go see the International Society of Illustrators. Our illustration students have been showcased at the International Society for the past 10 years. Not only have they been showcased, they also win scholarships through the International Society. That's been for the past 10 years. And it's been really great seeing that. Another example, there's so many study abroad things. I don't think we have a study abroad slide in here, but I can get nerdy at the end if you have a very specific question about study abroad. I didn't talk about industrial interaction design yet, so let's get back on track. Industrial interaction design, you do see it's a different degree type. It is a BID. It is a 5-year program because you are tackling 2 completely different professional areas, industrial design and interaction design. Bringing up Alan Dye again, Alan Dye, who is the vice president there of user interface at Apple, he is an alum of this specific program. And the best way I could talk about this specific program is industrial design is the person who designs the iPhone itself, right? And interaction design is the person who's designing how you're interacting with that object. So our students are learning both of those skills within this 5-year program. In your 5th year, you're tackling a very specific project and product where you're taking it, you're showcasing it to our alum and industry professionals, and you're working with industry professionals to develop and make that product. All right, so that's our School of Design. You'll see here that we actually have Emily Hoke, who is the user interface designer at Amazon. If you've ever bought something during Amazon Prime Day, you can thank her for that experience. All right, next slide if you can. All right, so our Department of Transmedia, we're one of the few institutions to actually use the term transmedia. It's another way of saying transitive media or media that talks to each other. So all these different degree programs use digital mediums to tell stories. So it's transitive in that way. This may sound familiar, but all the students within our different degree programs shown do have the same first year experience, where they're learning things like composition, lighting, storyboarding, what it means to tell a story, as well as film history. Our film program is actually ranked top 20 in the nation by the Hollywood Reporter. And there's a lot of different things that contribute to why it is a top 20 program. One factor is that we treat the film student as the complete filmmaker. So we give you skill sets all the way from pre-production to post-production. You're holding a camera within your first semester. We provide all of our students in the Department of Transmedia to access to over $8 million worth of equipment. I think a big anxiety for film students is the apprehension if they go to a college or a university that they only get to use the fancy equipment their senior year. That's not the case here at Syracuse. Instead of being year-based for our equipment, it's skills-based. So of course, through your classes, you do get to learn how to use specific camera equipment and lighting equipment. However, we also have workshops that are hosted through our equipment cage. So in your freshman year, you can take that workshop on how to use that lighting equipment that overpowers the sun. So as long as you take a workshop through something, you're able to use that equipment. My favorite time of year is actually as we get close to finals time. The Schaefer Art Building, which houses our film program, does have a loading dock in the back. So as we get to finals time, you'll see a line of U-Haul trucks where our students are taking their equipment off campus to shoot their films. We have a partnership with something local called the Syracuse Soundstage, where our film students now have access to over 50,000 square feet of soundstage that they can use for their films. That's such cool stuff. One thing I do want to emotionally prepare our film students for is that the main hub for our Department of Transmedia is located in the basement of our Schaefer Art Building. Of course, that calls for a lot of lighting control, but I think it's important to note and talk about the basement. What's great about that basement is you're walking through a very small hallway, but the reason that the hallway is so small, the moment you open up a room, it's like these huge rooms. We have a green screen room, a VR lab. We have a post-production VFX rendering farm. So if you need to render a really large piece of animation or post-production film work, it goes to a rendering farm. We have a sound recording studio where you can do Foley artwork. We have a photography studio where if you need to do a full-fledged fashion photography photo shoot, you can check out the equipment and do it there. We also both have analog and traditional photography rendering within our program as well. So if you want to do that darkroom style photography, we are really excited that you want to do that because we have the facilities and the capabilities to do that. I think what's important that we do have a campus in Los Angeles where our students can pursue a full semester in LA, have an internship in the film industry, which is required, and get to work on their senior film project there. Talking specifically to the students in the room who may be interested in our photography program, we really treat our photographers in the way that they want to specifically pursue photography in their own right. Do you want to be an exhibition-based photographer and you want more of that artistic route? Absolutely. Do you want to be your own run and operated small business and be a photographer that's doing small business style work? Absolutely. Do you want to do art journalism and do you really want to showcase the realities of the world through photography? Our students can really choose their own adventure about how they want to be a photographer through our program. One specifically cool thing about Syracuse as an entity is that we actually host a community darkroom on campus called Lightwork. Lightwork is an internationally known community darkroom where we get over 1,000 applicants for an international photography residency we do house within Lightwork. And our students, if you are an art photography student, you just get inherent access to this community darkroom. A couple of cool things about this, about Lightwork is that it hosts an archive where our students actually get to work in a photography archive there. They do large form printing and you can print photography there up to 65 feet. The only reason that it's up to 65 feet is that that's just the largest roll of photography paper that they have there. If you come in and you have a 100-foot photography roll, they're like, guess what, guys? You can now say 100 feet. And what's great about that printing is only 1 cent per square inch. So if you have the facilities and if you get a grant to do a large form photography work, it's really inexpensive printing there. And our students get inherent membership and inherent access to that. And also as a photography student, of course, you get access to our facilities that are photography facilities. Then you also get the Lightwork facilities. So you actually have double the access to photography equipment you would have at a standard art and design school. Our computer art animation program, I think it's inherent in the name. This is an animation program that is focused in 3D animation. What's important to note, if you want to be a traditional 2D animator or a stop motion animation, we have a huge legacy and history of students coming from this program and doing just that. We actually have a recent alum who graduated from our computer art and animation program, and he actually is the 2D animator at Leica Studios. So what's funny about that is that he graduated from a 3D animation program. He's working at Leica, one of the last stop motion animation studios, but he's doing 2D animation there. So if you have a specific approach to animation that you want to do, our faculty will support you to do that through this experience. I think across all these different degree programs within the Department of Transmedia, I think a big question comes from students is, will we learn about the programs that are used in the industry? The answer is yes. We teach you about the contemporary programs that are used for animation, for film, for photography, but we don't lean into those specific programs because they're always changing. We teach you about the core skill sets that you need to be a good storyteller and a good creative with a good eye. And then of course, along with that comes with you teaching the programs. I think us being a Research One institution means that our faculty are current practitioners in your field. So they're training you for jobs that don't even exist yet. So know that we give you access to the programs, we give you access to these computers, we give you these rendering labs, we give you these huge Cintiqs you can do animations on. But I think a bit when the questions do come to what programs do we use the contemporary programs, we use historical programs, we connect you with professionals who, like each studio may have their own approach to programs. So we make sure we give you folded into the professionals who can give you that inside look about what the actual programs are. I think a big reality right now is that Flash is almost dead and we're moving to HTML5 for a lot of course, digital online stuff. Mike Lasker, you'll see actually he just won the Oscar for his animation supervisor work on Into the Spider-Verse. But I think another major alum of our animation program is also Henry Selick. Henry Selick is actually the guy who did stop motion animation for Nightmare Before Christmas, Coraline, James the Giant Peach. So you really have a large legacy of some great animation work coming from our Department of Transmedia. A very big question is art video. You haven't talked about art video. What is it? Art video is very much closely connected to our film program. Our film program is mostly rooted in the film industry, while our art video program is mostly rooted in film as an art form. So it breaks the boundary of genre. It talks about performance art, it talks about exhibition-based video work. So really, if you are a video maker who's more interested in doing it as a form of studio art, art video may be a really great fit for you. All right, next slide. All right, so what's important to note is that, this is all well and good, this is all cool. The question that comes to the application process. What is important to note is that all the degree programs that I talked about today, save for the Bachelor of Science and Design Studies, require a talent portion, which is that portfolio. Each different degree program has a niche approach to what we are looking for in a portfolio. There are very big similarities. So I will start talking very broadly, but of course, as questions come up in the question part of like, oh, what's this specific requirement? I'll get nerdy. So we do use a website for portfolio submission called SlideRoom. SlideRoom is integrated into the Common App. So the Common App will take you to SlideRoom, and that is where you would upload your portfolio. You would upload it and answer some short answer questions as well as some short form essay questions. I'll go by department in talking about the portfolio requirements. Our School of Art, across all the different degree programs within the School of Art, have very similar requirements. So for all the portfolios in the School of Art, we are looking for 12 to 20 pieces of artwork that are your best and most recent pieces of artwork. For our studio arts degrees, either the Bachelor of Science or the BFA, it's 12 to 20 of anything: photography, sculpture, painting, performance art, you name it, you can put it in that portfolio for studio art. For illustration and arts education, it's 12 to 20 of your best and most recent. However, for illustration and art education, 6 out of those 12 to 20 pieces have to be from direct observation. So that includes gesture drawings, figure drawings, and still lifes. I don't want to scare you off by sharing that. I think, when someone thinks of a still life, they think of a really sad bowl of fruit. It doesn't have to be a bowl of fruit. I think my favorite story comes from, behind the scenes videos of how they did animation work for The Lion King. They brought actual lions into the animation studio to do drawings from life. So you can make your observational work really connect and be passionate for you. So don't feel like it has to be bowls of fruit. But if you do submit a bowl of fruit, also fine. For our School of Design, we actually have 2 different kinds of portfolios you can submit for the School of Design. We have something called the traditional portfolio and something called an alternative portfolio. The traditional portfolio may sound very familiar. The traditional portfolio is 12 to 20 pieces of your best and most recent work. A very common question is, does it have to be design? Does it have to be work related to the degree that I'm applying for? Answer is absolutely not. If you want to submit a portfolio for the fashion design program, it doesn't have to be garments. It doesn't have to be fashion illustration. It can be fine art, and it can be design. It can be posters. It can be typography. It can be paintings, drawings, sculptures. It can be 12 to 20 of any kind of fine artwork. I think the only thing that I would dissuade someone from doing something is like, let's say you're applying for the environmental and interior design program. So you want to be an environmental and interior design student, but your portfolio is nothing but fashion illustration. The faculty may be concerned of like, oh wait, do they apply for the right degree program? So I think when you are supplying certain kinds of art, it just shows demonstrated interest in a specific area. So I may be careful in putting things in your portfolio that shows interest in something that you're not applying for. I think that's just one thing I would encourage you to be thinking about as you develop your portfolio for the traditional portfolio. So design all across the board, 12 to 20 pieces, best and most recent work. We do offer something else within the School of Design called the alternative portfolio. The alternative portfolio is there for students who are passionate about design, who love design, and they just want to get their foot in the door for design, but their high school may not teach fine art or design, or they may not have even approached art ever. So instead of submitting 12 to 20 pieces of your best and most recent, on our website, we have 3 different prompts you can respond to. One is a 2-dimensional exercise, one is a 3-dimensional exercise, and one is a written essay. So these are for students who are like, 12 to 20 pieces. I don't even have one piece. Like, I got a sketchbook with a drawing of a cat in it. Is that going to work? Maybe not. So this is for folks who don't have a ground to stand on just yet when it comes to making a traditional portfolio. And our faculty within the School of Design are like, we have the alternative portfolio because you can't help if your high school doesn't have an art program or a design program. So we really want to make sure we gave accessibility to students who want to be a part of the design community. And a reminder that our design studies Bachelor of Science within the School of Design does not require a portfolio. We do have some creative fields that we do offer within our Department of Drama. We did not mention those today. We have a theater design and technology program as well as a stage management program, and those also do require portfolios. Theater design and technology are for students who are, those drama kids in high school who are making costumes and props and set designs. There is, we are looking for, 12 to 20 pieces that demonstrate your skills in theater design and technology. Document what you've done in theater, get those photography of those costumes, those props, the theater set. If you have stage plots, go for it. That documentation is going to be your friend as you are developing things for theater. But that 12 to 20 can also include other fine pieces of art. So it can include painting, it can include drawing, it can include photography. So know that we do have that theater design technology program. And stage management is just you are creating a scrapbook to save your life. You want to have your stage notes highlighted and color coordinated. You want to take photography of your stage plots and the notes you've taken for your stage productions. So that is that portfolio for stage management. The Department of Transmedia is perhaps the most diverse portfolio arrangement that we do have here. Of course, for our art photography program, we're looking for 12 to 20 pieces of photography. So the photography program has to have 12 to 20 exclusively photographic pieces for that portfolio. For computer art animation, it's the same portfolio that we're looking for our illustration program. It's 12 to 20 pieces of your best and most recent artwork. 6 of those do have to be from direct observation, so still lifes, gesture drawings, figure drawing. Our film program is the most unique portfolio requirement. For film, we're looking for you to submit up to 5 minutes of film. Now that is a huge sandbox to play in, and as someone who does a review of final film portfolios, here's my specific advice about what we are looking for. When we say up to 5 minutes of film, that 5-minute mark is pretty strict. We are not going to disqualify you if you submit a 10-minute film. However, what is going to happen is the moment we hit that 5-minute mark, we're going to stop watching. So know that we're looking for up to 5 minutes of film. That doesn't mean you have to submit 5 minutes of film. You can submit a 4-minute film, you can submit a 3-minute film, you can submit 2.5-minute films. Just make sure it does not breach that 5-minute mark or we will not watch. Another thing is that we will do not look for film reels. So if you send us a collection of clips of films that you've done, that's not a strong film for our portfolio. Our Department of Transmedia is all about what it means to tell a story. So in the film you are submitting or films you are submitting, tell us a story. Share with us your passion through that story. Share with us how well you can tell a story. The biggest mistake that I've seen our film students make when making portfolios is that in our program, you can be a screenwriter, you can be a script writer. However, if your portfolio is just a Google document of a script, that is an incomplete portfolio. We will not look at that script. That is not a good portfolio for our film program. It will be marked incomplete and not applicable. If you are a script writer, you can work with other people to put your script on film. You can work with others in the making of your film for your portfolio. You just have to give credit where credit is due. So for example, if you work with others to make your film, like, oh, I was the colorist, I was the cinematographer, I was the director, my friend wrote the script, you know, Stacy Sue wrote the script, and DeMarcus is the one who really did the storyboarding, right? So you want to make sure that you're really talking about and giving credit where credit is due. So do not submit a Google Doc of your script. Boom, boom, boom. Across all of our different degree programs, I think my biggest advice is the way that you talk about your work is sometimes just as important as the work itself. Get nerdy with us. Tell us about the medium, if it's your favorite medium, if it challenged you, what you learned, if your specific piece is talking about a social issue that you really care about or an experience in your life that really helped shape who you are. Because when we're making and we're looking for, you know, artists, we're not looking for robots that make art. We're looking for people to bring into our community and welcome into the SU Orange family. So we'd love to learn about who you are. And so we'd love to see that in your portfolio. So your portfolios are due at the same time as your common application. You'll notice we do have the early decision timeline, which is November 15th. And then of course, the regular decision deadline, which is January 1st. Early decision is like, hey, Syracuse is my #1 school, go Orange. As I said, the slide room is connected to the Common App, so you submit them together. Typically, our early decision students here during winter break, whether or not they've been accepted. Regular decision is like, hey, Syracuse is cool, but I'm weighing my options. You'll be submitting both your portfolio and your Common Application by January 1st. Typically, regular decision students here in late March to early April, whether or not they've been accepted to SU. We do offer early decision. We do not offer early action, which means early decision is a binding commitment. So if you are accepted into your first choice through early decision, you'd be coming to Syracuse that next fall. Of course, if you are accepted into a second choice or an alternate offer, no longer binding. And if you receive your financial aid package and you're like, I can't make this work for my family, there are also avenues for that as well. Hold on, I was gonna say something, bless my heart. Oh, the coolest fact ever. So I got weirdly excited. So in this current admission cycle, Syracuse has announced that we, as a large portion of our, of course, Jake, please chime in at a certain point to clarify. Syracuse as a university has turned to SAT and ACT optional for the current admission cycle. However, our talent-based programs, so anything that requires a portfolio, does not require the SAT or ACT even outside of COVID circumstances. So essentially, your portfolio actually eclipses the SAT or ACT requirement. So even if it wasn't COVID world right now, we would not be asking for your SAT or ACT through the College of Visual and Performing Arts. However, little asterisk here. The Bachelor of Science in Design Studies, because it doesn't require a portfolio, does require the SAT or ACT. And two other things. One, if the Common App, of course, on the Common App, you can choose a first choice and second choice major. In not COVID circumstances, so let's say you're here as a freshman in high school. If so, hello, welcome. You are definitely ahead of the curve. In not COVID circumstances, if your second choice was something like forensic science or math, they're going to require the SAT or ACT, so you may have to submit it anyway. And number two, Division I athletics. So if you wanted to play field hockey or basketball or football, in normal circumstances, Division I athletics would require you to also do the SAT or ACT. I always love to mention that our Quidditch team on campus, so you know the hoops and the brooms, our Quidditch team is not Division I. So if you do want to be a wizard, you do not have to submit the SAT or ACT. It's perfectly fine. You can still be a wizard and an illustrator and not have to take the SAT or ACT. I think that's what I would have to share outside of any questions that I'm happy to answer today.
I actually, wow, thank you so much for that amazing speech. I was gonna talk a little bit about test scores to give you a moment to catch your breath, but you beat me to it.
But also, what's important to note, and you know, Jake, you might have talked about this. Our office, the College of Visual and Performing Arts Office of Recruitment and Admissions, we assess and review your portfolio. That is what we do. We assess that talent portion. We take that assessment and then we send it over to main admissions. That gives you a holistic review. So know that that's the process that's coming on Syracuse's end. So you'll only hear one yes or no from Syracuse. So our office looks at your portfolio, makes an assessment, and then I hand it over to Jake. So Jake, take it away.
Yes, that's actually another point I was going to bring up. I believe the example you used earlier was Bowl of Fruit or Disney's actual lions. And while I think we don't encourage you to bring a lion into your home, I think that probably, I'm going to go on record actually and say that I feel quite comfortable saying do not bring a live lion into your house.
Yes.
Or wherever you reside. But if you did happen to bring a lion in and you drew this amazing piece of work on it, I wouldn't know what I was looking at. I would think that every single portfolio that came in is incredible because I love art and I love people. And so I think we need a more discerning talent, somebody who can look at a portfolio and really understand what makes something work well and fit well at an institution like this. And so it is the team over in Visual and Performing Arts that handles that talent aspect, whether it's on stage or on paper, individually. And that way, we're letting the experts look at the talent aspect, and then the experts in admissions, we've been trained to look through transcripts and SAT scores and understand how to make that process accessible and rigorous for our students here too. And so it's only working in unison that this process really can take place. And that's why, as Jill said, you'll only get one letter from us that'll have your notification information and all of that. And so I know on the same manner as we were talking about test scores, when somebody asked how much is academic strength considered in BPA admissions, hopefully this has given you a little context, but I think the short answer is, frankly, we expect students to do both. You have to have the talent and you have to have the academic rigor, because we don't want to put you in a position to fail, right? We want to bring students in who we know are going to succeed here, both on the stage as one example, and when they're taking their writing classes and their other courses that we're adding a minor on in Whitman, as I think was our example earlier. We want to make sure that we're preparing you for what you're going to get at Syracuse University. And so if you want to ask more specific questions about academic curriculum and rigor and how that's assessed, of course, please feel free to email our office. I've just typed my email in directly, so you can always contact me as well. But ultimately, it is a holistic review process that we know that no two high schools are the same. They all have different GPA standards, different courses available to their students. Some high schools have AP, some high schools don't. Some high schools let you take courses at a local community college at the college level or dual enrollment curriculum. But ultimately, it looks different everywhere you go. And so our review process first looks at what's been available to you in your academic community, and then how you took advantage of that, so that we're not judging a fish by its ability to climb a tree. And as I'm noting this, I also saw another question about dual enrollment credits. And so I will say that if you took a course for college credit and you got a C or better, we will give you college credit for that most of the time. Same thing if you took an AP exam or an IB exam and you get a certain score, we will give you college credit for that. There's actually a whole breakdown on our website. I can't type it in right now as I'm sharing my screen, but if you just Google Syracuse AP IB college credit, it'll pop right up, and you'll have access to all of that information, so you know exactly what score you need to get and what credit or what course you would get credit for here at Syracuse. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that question done. We have until about 8 o'clock, so we have just a few more minutes. And that's probably due to the fact that both Jill and I love the sound of our own voices.
I just love talking about our programs. I want to apply all over again when I start talking about this stuff. It's really cool. I'd love to go through the time they've been submitted to answer what I can through the current open questions. Is that okay, Jake?
Please, yeah. And I was going to read a couple of them to you, but if you'd like to answer them in an order you're comfortable with, go for it.
Yeah. So Pearl is asking, is there a space to explore documentary filmmaking within Film BFA? Absolutely, yes, and. As I mentioned, us being Research One, that means that our faculty are active practitioners. So we have people who are doing industry, film entertainment. We have people who are doing film documentary. I think what's really great about being at SU is that our film students in our Department of Transmedia and our Newhouse students who are doing public communications work very closely with each other very consistently. So you can really focus and hold a camera throughout your 4 years. But if you want to work with someone in Newhouse in public communications to talk about social issues that you care about and doing film documentaries, those partnerships are happening all the time. And as a student in the film program at BPA, you can take Newhouse classes to talk about journalism. So we offer journalism classes in BPA, and you can take those electives in Newhouse. So it's a really great experience there. Zoe's asking, is there a major dealing solely with the sound design for TV, film, and or theater? Yes and no. I think what's important to note is that when it comes to theater, there's theater design technology, which encompasses the entirety of theater design technology. So costumes, props, sound design, lighting design. If you go into our theater design technology program and want to focus in the sound work, it's at a professional theater. So you're able to work with current professionals who do sound design at theater and do apprenticeship style work for that Bachelor of Fine Art. We have something in our School of Music called Sound Recording Technology, which is explicitly a sound recording technology degree program for music students in our music school. So that's the BM in sound recording technology. If you don't play an instrument, but you still want to do sound mixing and recording, there is the Bandier program in our new house school, which are for folks who want to go into the music industry, but just don't play an instrument. When it comes to our film program and our animation program, there is Foley work and there is sound recording work that comes with film and animation there. However, it's not an exclusive program for that. But if you work with your faculty and say, hey, I know I'm getting the whole kit and caboodle with skill sets, but I do want to focus on sound, they'll support you and make sure you get a unique experience through the 4 years where you can focus on that and that be your primary focus and your internship focus. Sydney is asking, is there a way to do the Bachelor of Industrial Design program in less than 5 years? So if you were to ask the chair of our School of Design this, he'll get red in the face and he'll be like, I've been working so hard to make this a reality that students can do it. So just know if that's a question that you have, our faculty are also asking the same question and being very aggressive about it. I would encourage for that very specific question to get in touch with our School of Design faculty because they're going to be able to talk about that way more succinctly about how they're trying to do that, what that would look like for a current student coming into the program. But know that yes, you are tackling 2 different professional areas, but our faculty are working very hard to see how we can make the BID into a 4-year program. We're just not there yet. Michael's asking, are there ways to both pursue visual art and music production at different skill levels? Yes. So we have something called our music industry minor within our Setner School of Music, where you can do a visual art major, music industry minor, where you can do music industry work and sound recording work on the minor scale. So pun not intended, but also a very funny pun. You can do a visual art major, music industry minor. You can do that. You can, so Michelle's asking about master copies. You can submit master copies as a part of your portfolio, absolutely. You have to make sure that you put in the description that it is a master copy. This also kind of goes to our students who do submit fan art. I'm a big geek. I think me and Jake were just talking about The Legend of Zelda before we got on camera. We do, fan art is okay, but we much prefer seeing original characters and original stories and original worlds. So I'm not gonna see a picture of Link and not get happy, but we do want to, like, there's more creative work that's seen in original characters and original work than in master copies or fan-based work. So know that it's not detrimental, but it's not going to benefit your portfolio. It's a very neutral space. We look at it for pure technical skill and other creative things that we see in it, but masterworks are totally okay. Amelia's asking, with my pandemic, my school shows are canceled. I'm so sorry. I know that our our Department of Drama is really working to do cabaret style work and individual shows and productions because of COVID and the pandemic. So I see this and my heart hurts and feels for you. You can submit fine artwork as a part of your portfolio for any kind of theater design technology program. Fine art is acceptable. Painting, watercolors, photography. You can submit fine art in a theater design technology portfolio, and that's perfectly okay. And also, I know that costuming is something that you can do independently. So knowing that that's something you can do, you can submit fine art in a theater technology and design portfolio. We
have just enough time for 1 or 2 more questions. Can you hear me okay, Jill?
Yes, I can hear you just fine, but I'm stressed that I see 2 questions. So I'm gonna, yes. So I don't have a number about how many students apply to our fashion design program. What I will say is our School of Design brings in about 100 students into our school, the entire school every year. And of course, there's 5 different degree programs. You do 100 divided by 5. We're bringing about 20 students per degree program each year, and we're looking for about 20 to 25 students in each degree program per year. So we're looking for about 20 to 25 fashion students for our School of Design and for our BFA in fashion design. Anonymous is asking, I want to go into advertising. Would any of the design majors focus on that? Yes, that's our communications design program. So when it comes to advertising, that is our communications design program. It talks about the psychology of design, the business of design, as well as the art itself of graphic design. They do products, they do advertisements, you name it. Our communications design program is a really great program for you. There also is a retail minor, so retail merchandising minor through the business school. That's a really great accent to that. So if you want to go into retail advertising, major in comm design, minor in retail management, great recommendation.
All right, thank you so much, Jill, for such a wonderful presentation. I hope everyone who joined us tonight learned something and got a little more excited about putting an orange shirt on. We've got our orange here, always learn. But we're really, really grateful that you took the time out of your busy day and out of your evening to join us for this. My contact information is in the chat. Jill, yours was on the screen. If you need to get in touch with us, please, please, please feel free to email one of us or both of us. We're very responsive and quick to get back to students. And so we're always happy to be a resource for you as you navigate your college search process. For now, I will say good night. Thank you again. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your evening. Take care.
Y'all take it easy and stay safe and have a good 4th of July weekend.
Yeah. Bye.